Hi guys, welcome to our book club. Today will be the fifth and the last session in our experts level. Currently, we are finishing The Girl Who Reads on the Metro, a French book written by Christine Féret-Fleury. And this video will cover from chapter 22 to the epilogue. So let's just start. As I told you in the introduction of this video, guys, today will be our last session. Today we are finishing the book. And before starting with chapter 22, let's just remember a little bit what happened in previous chapters. So we have Juliette that she moved to Soliman's house in order to take care of Said because Soliman's needs to go very far. Well, not far, but he needs to go away for we don't know how long. So Juliette is taking care of the business, is taking care of the passeurs, and also taking care of Said. But she's feeling overwhelmed by the responsibilities, by the amount of books, by everything. So she started having, this crisis because she is out of her comfort zone. She has been always following a routine all her life that right now she doesn't know what to do. She feels, she said, like naked. And we have maybe this character, the guy in the green hat that we knew at the beginning, that we met at the beginning of the book. We have this guy, Leonidas, who is helping Juliette by giving her some advice, by listening to her. And we also know that Leonidas was fell in love with Sylvia, who is the lady who committed suicide. So he is also a little bit, like mourning her death. We have at the end of the last previous chapters that Leonidas received a call, because context, because it took time, but Soliman is dead. Soliman passed away due to the consequences of a surgery. He had a heart surgery, so Juliette cannot believe that. She is thinking about Said, and well, so far they know that Said's mom is alive and that she is sending Said letters quite often. And they have little information about her, so they decide to tell her hey, Said is here, Soliman passed away. So they receive a letter from Said's mom that says, come. We have that, and also meanwhile we have Juliette, that she doesn't know how to communicate the news to Said. So they start this game where they bet a trip. Juliette is on the metro, and then she found Chloe, who told her that, well, she also quit in the company, and now she is wedding planner. She is trying, in these very, very, very modern wedding businesses, party, and maybe a party planner. And also that Juliette's boss is he also closed the business and he decided to go to the mountains and live there. So, well, we have that in Juliette's trip, and then, when it is time to go somewhere with Said, Juliette finishing chapter 21 saying that it doesn't matter where you go, but when you just, go outside your routine, it's an adventure. So we have it here, They are waiting for the metro to arrive, and they are going to their way to Said's mother's house. So we have here. Today, though, both of them would experience the thrill of adventure. Jordan La Forêt, that's a place. Yes, this was an adventure. The tiniest departure from routine, if you were open to it, it was indeed an adventure. So, new place, they don't know, adventure. And that is the ending of chapter 21. So here, in chapter 22, we have that Said and Juliette finally they reach. They arrive to the house because they have a picture not really good, and well, here we have it, They had some difficulty finding the house. It was 2 kilometers from the station in the direction of the woods. The woods that Said's mother had painted on the letters sent to her daughter with overlapping patches of yellow ochre and tender green watercolor. There was a smell of wood smoke in the air. A bright blue birdhouse served as letterbox. It was planted loftily near a young cherry tree for which it acted as a stake. So we have here that they arrived to the house, but the house has, like some colors. And then it says that it is like an... Suddenly words had the weight and density of iron bowls that the men roll of a sandy oblong mark out in the courtyard of an apartment building on the other side of the depot wall. For years, Said must have listened to the sound they made when they banged together and the furious or delighted exclamations of the pentank players, and Juliette couldn't help looking down at the little girl's mouth, imagining that out of it would come extraordinary object, like she read about it in a fairy tale. But nothing happened. The ground at the foot of the birdhouse had often trampled around it. Foot trips could be seen everywhere, coming from the house and returning in the same direction. Shallow but clearly defined prints. Firuzi has a dancer feet. Observe, she must be light and small, an adult Said, in other words. So we have that they arrive, they see the house, but at the same time, Juliette is thinking about Said's feelings. Because even though, Said's mother has sent her some letters, like, come on, you need the contact. And Said doesn't talk so much about her mother either. So that's why, she's thinking like, oh, she's feeling. And then we have this landscape, this view. So maybe, she will remember, this will remind her of a book. Maybe she will be excited about returning. And then when she just, look at Said was like, whatever. And there is, these bird books. That is, like a birdhouse. It says birdhouse? Well, a birdhouse. Like these, I don't know, like wooden houses, little houses for birds. Well, instead of being a birdhouse, it is a letterbox. So, it says that there is like a piece of wood on the floor and you can see the footprints. So, Juliette is thinking like, oh, those footprints, like, oh, they are so delicate. Maybe, like Said's mother should be small and light. And she was, having a different complete idea of how Said's mom was. Suddenly, we have, they are talking about the door, about the paint, and it says, the door opened at once. Had Firuzi been watching out for them at once of the low windows either side of the front door? Probably. But the woman who appeared in the doorway bore no resemblance to the one Juliette had pictured. Auburn hair and curvaceous, she wore a big fringe poncho and little round steel-framed glasses on her snub nose. Ignoring Juliette, she crouched down beside her daughter and held out her hands, palm upward. Said stood stock still for a moment, looking solemn, then bent down and laid her forehead just for a moment on the joined fingers. Perhaps she whispered a word that Juliette guessed at without really hearing. So, before, we continue, we have that Said's mother's name, it's Firuzi, like Firuze. And that, well, she is totally different, like she has auburn hair that it will be castaño. Then, like she was using a poncho with some barbas, with some, like these little things that sometimes the ponchos have. And well, like also she was using glasses. Her nose was respingada, snub nose. And also says that, like she did this and Said was doing, like something like that. They just whispered a word and the word was death. So they are here that Pharisee, like hold her daughter. Said is like, he passed away. And well, it says, of course, Juliette didn't understand that these words were addressed to her or perhaps to both Said and her any more than she was aware that she was crying before feeling tears running down her neck and wetting her scarf, the blue one, her favorite. Yes, because she is very sensible to whatever is happening right now. She's crying because Soliman is dead. She cannot believe it. And also because well, she says that like the thing with the books and the knowing Soliman and the conversations and everything like help Juliet to be a little bit more open, like to new experiences, to get out from her routine, and she liked that. So that's why she felt probably like she lost a friend. So we have here that they have later on, remember that these three stars, meaning that they change the scene. And then we have that they are just in front of a fire, like Said, it is on her mother's lap. And then Juliet and Firuzi, they start having a conversation. And Firuzi, like they are drinking tea. Oh no, it's not this part. Said applauded. I didn't want to leave my country. But yeah, they are close to the fireplace, like there's fire. Well, they are talking about Firuzi's story. And it says like, well, I didn't want to leave my country, said Firuzi abruptly. My mother and father were there. They were getting old, and besides, they never liked Soliman. They thought he was a paperman. Do you understand? He didn't really exist. You don't know what's going on in his head, my father used to say. But I knew, or I thought I did. Love for me or for our daughter, for the mountains we used to live at the foot of the mountains, for poetry. That's enough to feel alive, don't you think? She didn't expect a reply, murmuring as she poked her the embers, las brasas. In any case, I believe it because it suited me. Poetry is too complicated, a tortuous road that sometimes leads nowhere. I prefer images, colors. Ultimately, perhaps it's the same thing. Soliman and I argue about it endlessly, and it tires me. Like tire, it's a verb. I said to him, life isn't an almond. You won't find the best of it by removing the shell and then the skin. But he persisted. That's how he was. He went out less and less. He stayed shut up in one room all day long, that one with the window looking out onto the almond orchard. The same thing he will say, look at often, observe determinedly, can give us the key to what we are. I don't know what he was thinking, but what he wanted. So here we have a little bit how was the relationship between Said's parents. And well, they love, like the arts and maybe stories and maybe, like whatever you can, like you can fantasize. But then little by little, like Said's mother started to want more colorful and to go outside and to see probably life in different colors. And Soliman says like, no way, no, it's not like that. So that's why he went out less and less and less. And remember that sometimes we knew that he wasn't going outside. He said that you could visit the whole world just in one room. So that's why, like they start having some problems. And I guess, like that is one of the reasons why they maybe not got divorced, but they just split. They just broke up. So I never understood. It's unbearable. Yeah, because they said that little by little, they said like, no way. He started going outside less and less, and they said like, no. And he couldn't bear it, said Juliette softly. No, he left. Yes, with Said. I was the one who wanted it. She was closer to him than to me. I knew that everything would be easier for her here and perhaps for him. So why did you leave your house in the end? My parents died. I no longer had anyone back there. When I got here, I could only think of one thing, seeing my daughter again. I almost, and then her eyelids closed, like párpados. I wasn't complete. Exiles, I don't know how else to explain it. Sorry. I don't know how else to explain it. I was no longer complete, and I didn't want to inflict that on Said. This emptiness, this anxiety, nothingness that I couldn't shake off, so I waited. We sold land, we weren't hard up. Back there, I had my job, I was a teacher, a French teacher. Here, I started illustrating children's book. That helps, the money helped Soliman too, at first. Even though he started going around in circles in one room again, Juliette interjected. He used to say that the one room can contain an entire world. Books, of course, and she began to tell her story. So we know that, they were a couple, they have Said. Said had a better relationship with her dad. That's why, since they didn't want to move and they start having some problems, Soliman just, went to France, and she stayed in her country also because her parents were there. They died. She didn't have any other reason to stay in her hometown, so she moved where Soliman was living. But then she started feeling like, even if I go, with my daughter and I hug her, like, there is nothing like a relationship. And she started feeling like, this is not right. I don't feel good. Maybe I need to have other kind of approach. And that's why, the relationship got like that. That is the ending of chapter 22. In 23, we have that Juliette has been in the little house on the edge of the forest for 3 days, waiting for what she couldn't say. She knew only that this was a cold, peaceful place, incredibly luminous, vast, empty, that she sank into it without resisting, with relief even. So she is here comparing her situation with some books. And then we have, let's just see. His king, Soliman, it was olive. Oh yeah, well, let's just read this part, It says, Soliman, Firuzi remained imperturbable, following her with her gaze, but not attempting to comfort her, other than to bring her endless cups of tea. Oh, because she started telling her story until, she met Soliman. You could have been English, couldn't you? Said Juliette between sobs. She was crying, and she's like, oh, you could have been English. Why? Because everything, you want to fix everything with tea. And then it says, the English thing that tea is the answer to everything. In Agatha Christie's novels, and the mothers of Said says, like, I have never read them. I told you I prefer images, color, gestures that caress the paper, the skin. She put the cup down on the mantelpiece. Her hand was trembling a little. His skin, Soliman's skin, it was olive but not the same all over, with dark hollows, pale areas, a mole at the shape of his thighs. I must show you, I must draw. No, whispered Juliette, staring at the tips of her nose. And then we have here that, Juliette is taking care of Said. And then she is telling a lot of beautiful things about Soliman. So Firuzi is like, okay, let me write all the things that you want to know about him. And Juliet says like, why? And Firuze is like, but weren't you a couple? Weren't you dating? Like, probably weren't you in love with him? And Juliet says like, no, of course not, but you're crying. And it says this, yes, it's not normal. Is what that you mean? Is that what you mean? She bursts out, suddenly aggressive. And Said isn't crying. Is that normal? And well, like we have this conversation about Juliet and Firuze, and Firuze is like I don't know how to explain, but I think that she is reading very clearly Juliet, and she is telling her like, come on, but you cannot live being just in a room reading books. You need to go outside. You need to experience life. You cannot be like Solomon. You cannot, like do or following his ideas. He didn't want to go outside, but you are different. Like, come on, do it. And they are talking about that. And well, here we have that everything that Firuze told her, it was right. Like, yes, everything is right about her. She uses books in order to maybe to imagine other kind of no, like she uses books in order to get out of reality. Yeah, that was better. So, like here we have like, yes, she read me. And she's talking about the last book, when they were packaging in order to just, like go to Firuze's house. It says like, okay, but like she was right. It was a book. It says, let's see, as it did her good to laugh at herself, as did feeling the soft cover through the fabric. It was a book by Maya Angelou, Letter to My Daughter, which she'd stuffed into her pocket at the last minute before leaving, because it was within reach on top of a pile. Because it wasn't very big, and their 2 bags were already heavy. She wasn't used to choosing her reading material by weight. That was at first. But not necessarily a bad idea, she said to herself. It was a way of classifying the books she hadn't yet tackled. Fat fireside tomes or long, well, like here you have that sometimes you have books for vacation, sometimes you have, like short stories just when you are in the mood to read something quickly, sometimes you have, like the romantic story. You have different kind of readings according to your mood. So she's saying that maybe choosing your books, like how thick, how long the stories are, it could be an excellent idea, because sometimes you have different moments in your life during your day. So the book that she grabbed, it was because, like she was already with her bags full. She grabbed it, and the title of the book, it is Letter to My Daughter. It says, well, it says that you can read, and then it says, people are going places. It's crazy, Said declared, all the time. Just then, Juliet's fingers slid between 2 pages, and she read. So, like she grabbed the book and she opened it, and while Said says like, oh, people is moving, people go all the time, like to a lot of places. I am a black woman, tall as a cypress. Those are the phrases, that is the 2 verses she read. And then it says that she continued talking, but that, like the author and everything reminds her to the African American women, because Maya Angelou seems to be one of them. And it says, in her book, Angela cited this poem as giving heart to African American in general, as women in particular. And its last lines were, look on me and be renewed. So I think that, as she said, sometimes those books that you need They arrive in the moment when you need them the most. And here we have this kind of magic again, like when she is just opening the book and she is reading those words that she needs to read. The book was from an African American author. So that is also telling us that it has been like an inspiration for a lot of women like Michelle Obama. So we continue in 24, and then we have a little bit more about that book. It says, I'm not black, I'm not tall as a cypress, I'm not strong, I'm not impervious, and yet I too have things to face. So look and be renewed. That would be good, yes, but look at what and where. So Juliette was, not talking. Juliette was just thinking about a lot of things. Like sometimes she thinks a lot in books, and she is mentioning some things from some books and some authors, and then she is mentioning, like some characters. But here we have that she, like Juliette looked up. She was wearing an oversized beige parka, like a coat, borrowed from Féret-Fleury, and felt a bit ridiculous, like a child who's riffled through her mother's wardrobe. The blue scarf wound twice around her neck, wound, muffled her up to her nose, like, when you have this, that is. She breathed in the beating air through the stitches that her grandmother's finger had knitted one by one. Suddenly she could see those fingers very clearly, slightly lovely. Her hands covered with those blemishes, known by the rather unpleasant name of liver spots. Like the last, I don't know, it says liver spots, but like sometimes in people's hand there are some stains. I know them, like manchas de sol, manchas de la edad, but here it is, like the liver spots. So there you go. She's talking about that. And then, like she is talking a little bit about that she doesn't want to live that life, that she is tired, that she needs something else, that she feels unhappy, that she needs to do something. Like she needs to do something in order to recover her life. We know that her mother passed away and it was an accident, but like her parents overprotect her because she went to the school and the school was very close. She went to work, but the work was in the same line that the school. So she has been in a very, very small world environment. She hasn't changed her routine in a while, so she is just having a lot of thoughts that it's enough. She needs to do something. She doesn't know what, but she needs to do something. So we continue here, and then it says that before finishing we have let's see. Well, like a few meters away beyond the rusty garden fence, Juliette saw a directly shed made of planks turned grey with age. The roof had caved in, and between the planks had come away and were broken in places. She could glimpse a bright yellow patch, as yellow as the throat of a hummingbird, as the fluffy mimosa flowers with their heady perfume, which she used to buy years ago for her mother, who dreamed very winter of Nice and the Riviera, but didn't want to budge an inch from her home. So she saw something yellow that, caught her attention. Her hand on the galvanized wire, Juliette pushed the sagging fence down and climbed over, praying that Féret-Fleury's parka wouldn't get caught on one of the barbs, and then you can just tie off. Once of the other side, she jumped over a little ditch filled with estancada, water, then zigzagged between the clumps of needles and barely colored stems. This section of the property seemed to have been abandoned long ago and must have served as rubbish dump. The legs of an ironing board stood in the middle of a heap of plastic containers filled with blankish liquid. Stacks of rotten fabric covered. Okay, She's describing like this is a garden that I guess it was like behind or probably close to the house where Juliette is. And then, the garden looks abandoned. Why? Because she saw a lot of trash and she's describing the trash. So it says like where here there's nothing. And then what? It says a green tarpaulin covered the vehicle sitting inside, standing on chalks. Like during the war, thought Juliette, when there was no gasoline left. But in those days there weren't any yellow cars. Or were there? Of course there were. The world wasn't in black and white. The world wasn't in black and white, despite what she believed when she'd seen the trip across Paris for the first time. In her defense, she must have been only 6 years old. So it says like, oh, this is a yellow car. But yellow cars, like they didn't exist in the past. They were black or white, right? And she is thinking about that because in the past, she saw a movie where it was black and white. So she thought that cars were just black and white. But then it's like, okay, I thought that, but I was 6. And it says, she grabbed a corner of the tarpaulin and yanked it, lo tiró, lo jaló. A few bricks placed on the roof clattered down. She stepped to one side to avoid them and yanked again with her strength. Sweat ran down her neck onto her back. Where did this sudden boldness come from? Juliette didn't even know whether this bath belonged to Féret-Fleury or whether she rented it. The legal owner might at any moment burst out from the woods with a loaded hunting rifle, and she is just like being very curious in this place. And she says that she saw this tarpaulin. So the tarpaulin, she is pulling it. And, oh, my bad. Oh, yes, like we are here. So she is pulling it. And then she says like, oh, we have a lot of things here. And, she said like, I really hope that Féret-Fleury is, like the owner of this place, because if she's renting it and right now, the owner comes, maybe he will have a rifle. And, like here in the tarpaulin, it would be like the lona that is covering, in this case, the car. So we have that the tarpaulin ripped and fell back limply. So, like she's ripped, lo rasguñó, lo rasgó. So then we have that, she saw the yellow car and she's like, okay. So let's just finish this. She had disturbed a little living space with well-established habits. The patient, okay, so she yanked again, dislodging a few more bricks, and at last it appeared before her, as inoffensive and appealing as a big toy, but a lot dirtier. A minibus, yellow. So she is like in this dump place, in this dumper, and she is looking at something that catches her attention. She saw that it was yellow, but it was covered. So she is pulling this tarpaulin, and she just discovered that it was a minibus, a yellow minibus. So we have here in the end that it said, is it yours? A breathless Juliette had burst into the rusty garden. Fence. Juliette saw a directly shed made of planks turned gray with age. So we have her mother. Oh, this is not. Yeah, this is it. So a breathless Juliette had burst into the studio where Féret-Fleury was building a totem with Said. They had placed several lumps of wood on top of one another, split logs with tender pink hearts, and were dribbling different color paint over them. Then, explained Said, we'll make out of modeling clay and eyebrows and a mouth so it can palaver. So she repeated the word palaver several times, seeking Juliette's admiration. Palaver is a good word, Did you know it? Juliette shook her head. You are very clever. Said pulled a modest face and turned over the log she was holding in her paint-stained hands. A crimson streak soaked into his fevers. The good's bleeding, she crooned. It's going to die. Firusi tapped her shoulder. The tree died when it was cut down, but this piece is going to stay alive. Why? Because of the pulvering and the wishes. You see, when you put these two logs, there'll be a hollow there just at the joint. When you are sad or when you have a special wish, you can write it on a piece of paper and split it inside. My grandfather told me to do that. And then what happens? Firusi looked up and her eyes met Juliette's. The wood eats everything. Sorrows, hopes, everything. It keeps them safe. It leaves our hands free to release us from them or to take them come true. It depends what you tell it. So if you let broken, is it yours? Firusi showed no surprise. She simply took the time to put the lids back on the paint pots on the shelf before turning towards the window. Behind the filthy paints, it was possible to make out the dead colors of the wild patch, the shed and its deformed shape, barely visible in the fog. Yes, I mean, no, it's yours if you want it. So they are talking about the mini boss. And well, like here we just have Said that she is pronouncing, she's talking with these very, how can I say, far-fetched words? Maybe not far-fetched, but a little bit more formal words. So that is this cold palaver that she is using it. So this palaver means very quickly, let's just, So it is a chatter or prolonged discussion, often about trivial matters. It just, like this endless conversation. And, well, we have then the chapter 25. And here we have that finally Juliette is again in Soliman's house, in the hair house. And she's talking with Leonidas. So Leonidas is asking her, like, are you sure? And Juliette says, like, I don't know. I really don't know if this is a good idea, but I know that I have to do something. And I am so scared, but I have to do it, like for myself. So, like Leonidas is like, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about all kind of stuff? And Juliette says, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I have to do it. So the thing is that Juliette, she wants this minibus, this yellow minibus, she wanted to adapt it into library, like a moving library, but also it will be her house. So she will travel all over the countries, all over the world in order to continue this paseo job. And in the conversation, Juliette is, well, you can come with me. But Leonidas is like, no way, I'm too old. But also, I will stay here. Because whenever you need to come back, whenever you need something, I will be here waiting for you. So Juliette says that every once in a while she will just come back in order to pick more books. But Leonidas is like, you will just come very few times because people will just give you more books everywhere you go. So you won't have a lack of books. You will have books all the time. So they are discussing about it. And they even have the name, like the Yellow Submarine, because it's like yellow. So they are talking that Leonidas know who the Beatles were, and that, well, I don't know if it is here, maybe it is, oh yeah, it is, that is the ending. So, that is it with the Yellow Submarine. They have the name, and, let's see. Oh yeah, boats need a home port. That's why also Leonidas decides to stay. So we have 26, and then you have, the Yellow Submarine, the YS. And I think here they are talking, oh no, Juliette is talking about the books that she will take with her. And she said, like, I don't have time for trilogies. I don't have time for series. They have just, like to be one book, like self-conclusive. So she is just discarding, some books, some series. We have, like here, for example, IQ 84, that is from a Japanese, Haruki Murakami, Virginia Woolf. We have also, probably there are a lot of authors, but I don't recognize all of them, guys. Like she reads a lot of classics. I don't tend to read classics. And, well, here we have that they are talking about what kind of books. And then I think it is around here. Or maybe it is later on. But Leonidas asked Juliette for a favor. So probably it is later on. So here it says, the journeys on the metro were tinged with a sense of farewell. Oh yeah, because like here they are continued discussing like okay, you will go, but like what about people? You need to know them, you need this, and for that you need to go to the metro. So here, like she goes to the metro again, and she's having like a farewell. She's saying goodbye. What else? Suleiman's awkwardly. I think it is this part. Well, Leonidas is asking, to deliver 3 books, and the books are, like for Said, for Sylvia's, I think it's her nephew, and I don't remember for who is the last one. But let's say, where is it? She had, okay. So it says, when he stopped in front of her, panting, he reached under the fabric and pulled out 3 books. The first one is from Said, he explained. I almost forgot, I'm sorry. She had been furious with me. It's a copy of Rudyard Kipling, Just So Stories. So, like she's describing the book, that the book has Said's own creations. So that is it. And then we have the second book. She recognized it. She had often seen it lying in the lap of the woman with the gentle face, Sylvia, the one who had chosen to die, to nurse her memories no longer. A recipe book written in Italian, tattered, stained, often use. I so regret not having spoken to her, he said softly. He could have grown all together, made one another happy. I didn't dare. I'm angry with myself. No, don't say anything, Juliette, please. Because remember that he was in love with her. And, well, she decided to, she committed suicide, and he didn't say anything, not even for helping her. So that's why. And he is asking Juliette to deliver this book to some, I think. She had no family apart from a nephew over in Italy, in Lis, or Lesi, or Lexi, I don't know how to pronounce it. That's below Brindisi, in the far south. She had once told him that this book had the only thing she had to bequeath, that these pages contain her entire youth and her country, the colors, the songs, the sorrows too, the grieving, the laughter, the dances, the loves, everything. So I didn't dare ask you, but I'd like. And Juliette understood, like, okay, you want me to deliver this book, but how can I recognize him? Like, come on, I don't know him. And she said, like, oh yeah, like he works in this restaurant. Like he may be here, but I know he has a little restaurant in the Via Novancicesimo Regimento Fanteria. It's a big of a mouthful, I know, so I've written it down for you. It's a very, very long name, so he wrote it in a paper. And she's like, okay, you want me to deliver this book, but but come on. And then, like, she understood the moment, she was very empathic, and then she said, like, okay, like, I will do it. I recognize him. I won't be scared. I will just, like, overcome my fears. And, well, like, you will recognize him, I certain. So we have, like, the epilogue, and the third book was like a dictionary. Some words, French-Italian conversation manual. So it wasn't important, well, like, not to deliver to anybody, but she had it with her. Maybe it was for her in order to learn a little bit of Italian so she could deliver the second book, like Sylvia's nephew. So we have here that this is the epilogue, and Juliette is just having this conversation with herself. She's driving the yellow car, and if you remember, she also is making some comparisons, because at the beginning of the story she says, like, oh, this is a yellow carpet, a yellow folder, sorry. So, like, no, I don't want to work with this color, it's super boring, is this. And now she has a different perspective because she wants to stand out. She wants, like, to live an adventure. She knows that it's dangerous, but she doesn't want to be negative. She wants to keep everything positive. So she is driving. She says that, like, she mentions some streets, and then she stopped in a stoplight. And she is, like, paying attention to the pedestrians, to the cross lines, and then she saw the girl who likes reading the romantic stories, the one who was crying, and the one with the page 247, that one. So, well, she is talking about, well, like, the world seemed to me like a Russian doll. And then, like, she's talking, and then I saw her. The girl who reads romances, the girl with pretty breasts in tight polo neck sweaters, moss green, powder pink, honey mustard, the one who always started to cry at page 247. And she saw her, and then, like, she was with a big radiant smile. And suddenly, like, she had a very, very thick book. So Juliette is paying attention, like, oh, nice, she's reading a nice book. And then the girl suddenly just left it on a bench and crossed the street and left. And she never turned back, not anything. So Juliette is like, what? She abandoned the book? And she's so curious that she needed, like, to park. And when she parked, she just, like, got down from the bus, and she went to the bench. She grabbed the book, and she didn't even, like, look at the title. She was super curious because the book was marked with a bookmark. She was marked. So imagine that. Well, I don't have any book, guys, but imagine that this is the book, and the book was very thick. So the book was very thick, and she saw a bookmark. So she opened the book on that page, and she saw that it was probably not like a happy ending. Let's see. It says, I got out of the YS and went over to the bench. I didn't look at the title of the novel. What intrigued me was the bookmark. I slid my fingers between the smooth pages, page 309. Manuela pressed her forehead against the silky fabric of the diner jacket. I'm so tired, she whispered. The huge arms encircle her. Come, whispered in her ear the voice she heard every night in her dreams. Come. So Juliette was like, okay, I mean, this is good, it's not a happy ending, but she said, like, oh, page 309. But, like, she is not even finishing the story. The story probably has a little bit more emotion, and she just decided to keep it here. And, well, like, she is not curious about the story. She said, like, well, I will just keep it like that. I don't want to know the ending. Also, she decides that she is not taking the book because she is not collecting books. She is giving away experiences, so she didn't need that one. So she said that she left the book over there. She left, and it says, before going back to it, I bent down and removed the bookmark, which I slip under my sweater against my skin. The velvet corner dug into my breast, and I enjoy feeling that prick, that small stab of pain. I knew that it would stay with me for a long time, because she grabbed the book and she put it, like here. So the corner of the book, like pocket, like this. And she's describing that this sensation, this pain, she will never forget it. And that's it, guys. That is the ending of the book. Well, I don't know if you cry. I must confess that I cry a little bit because I felt probably not 100%. I even forgot the word. But I didn't feel like Juliette. I didn't feel like Juliette. I just think that sometimes we are like her. We just forget that we need to go outside in order to continue expanding our knowledge, our experiences, everything. And we think that maybe we'll find the same kind of experiences probably through a phone, through movies, through books, that we just forget to, relate in the real world. And this was a very nice reminder. I think it is necessary that once in a while we also have adventures in order to continue learning, but also cultivating our motivation, our imagination, and moreover. And well, as I commented to you, I think this was a very sweet ending, a very heartwarming ending. I hope you enjoyed this reading as well as me. Congratulations, because you finished a book in English. So I think that you should congratulate you on that. And well, thank you so much for reading this book with me. It has been a very, very interesting book, full of words, full of French references, but as well full of book references. So if you are a heavy reader, probably you know a lot of authors. If not, maybe you were a little bit lost, but even though, you finished the story. So as I commented to you, thank you so much for reading this book with me. I hope you continue joining the book club. We will have new stories to read, but the meanwhile, continue having an excellent time, and I really hope to see you soon. Bye, guys!